August the 5th, 2025. As you're looking at the 1 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. Now, Dexter is a tropical storm. It's moving northwest. It looks like it's going to loop right over towards the UK, along with a lot of Canadian wildfire smoke. Guys, it's getting caught up in the same system. So you guys in the UK, you're going to get rain, wind, and smoke. 3 for your money, right? Anyway, I'll show you it is at 40 miles per hour, located 38 degrees north, 63.4 west. It's moving northeast at 12 miles per hour. Now here, disturbance number 1, 40% chance of development setting off the Carolina and Georgia coast right now. The difference in it and this system that's 50% chance is that the X is already in the cone here. Here is where the system is. It's not that distinguishable right now, but they're expecting by the time it gets to here, inside this cone, that it will be developed. Anyway, on the first storm here, disturbance number 1. Says a weak surface trough located several hundred miles off the coast of the southeast U.S. is producing scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. An area of low pressure is expected to develop from the system over the next day or so, where environmental conditions appear generally favorable for additional development. A tropical depression could form by the latter portion of this week or weekend as the low starts moving slowly westward but turns more northwest by the weekend, kind of just moving towards the coast with that northwest movement. It's what it looks like. Now here you got disturbance number 2. It's a 50% chance of development. And notice it is southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. Now we're going to look directly at it. You'll see why I was saying it's not that distinguishable yet. Anyway, tropical wave over the far eastern tropical Atlantic is currently producing a disorganized area of showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions are forecast to be conducive for gradual development during the next few days, and a tropical depression could form late this week or over the weekend as the system moves generally west-northwestward across the central tropical or subtropical Atlantic. Now yesterday, and we're going to look at the update today, but the high pressure that's setting over the Atlantic, guys, was extending even into the Gulf of America. And what that's telling me is, and actually the cone is not quite as wide moving up into this area like it was, but if that high pressure holds in place, this thing is going to travel a little further to the directly towards the west. Let's look at the satellite images themselves. Now let's take a very wide look right here. You can see Africa to the far right and the U.S. Got a hurricane going back out into the Pacific Ocean. We'll try to get an update on that. Hawaii, you haven't been hit this year so far, but these systems are continuing to kind of spawn in this very warm area coming off of Mexico. Now, it's not this area right there they're watching, although that could combine with it. It's right here. Notice where that X was off the coast of the Carolinas and Georgia, more in this area. We're going to look at it a little closer. And this is Dexter moving out. Now look at the combination of the Canadian wildfire smoke. And I'm on a big screen in my studio, so not sure how it's working on the phone. But here it goes right through here. Look at it. Being picked up, moved across into the system that's headed over towards the UK. And notice the system is splitting. Part of it's going north, part of it's going south through this area. Check that out. There's the Canary Islands here. And what you're seeing is a combination of some Saharan sand layer right there, plus the distortion of the camera from the curvature of the Earth right in that area. Here's your intertropical convergence zone, which moved 151 miles further north last year, by the way. Now let's take a close-up look at the southeast. Of course, here's Florida. And remember that X was off the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, right in this area, right in here. And they've been watching for something to form here for several days. And that's kind of a new thing. It must be, newer technology in the forecast, computers, things like that. Because until, it wasn't that long ago, you actually started seeing a formation before they would watch it. which earlier warning is great. It just gives you more time. Sometimes, though, it's less reliable. But right now, they're watching this little area right there. You see the rotation in it? We'll look at it closer. Again, it's not this, but it's not a bad idea to keep an eye on the system here simply because of the heat of this around the Bahamas themselves. Now, let's switch to infrared just a moment. Florida, you're getting a good bit of rain. I hope you need it. Notice it's building up here. And what's happening, you're seeing this tropical feed coming in off the Atlantic and getting caught up right here and feeding into moisture over the heated surface of the land in the Florida Peninsula. Now, also in the Florida Panhandle, right there, Georgia, southeastern Alabama, down along the Gulf Coast here in Mississippi, close to Mobile Bay also, and up through South Carolina, going to move into North Carolina, you're starting to see moisture. And that always means you'll be a little bit wetter than normal if this storm comes in with heavy rains. Just keep that in mind. But right now, at this time of the year, with the heat going on, let me turn to look at my weather station here. It's 86, humidity 85, heat index 102. That may sound hot, guys, but that's such a blessing. It's about 20 degrees lower on the heat index than it normally would. And it's just a blessing. And I think it comes from so many prayers from the summer from hell 2 years ago, to be honest with you. And let's scan further out into the Atlantic for a moment. Now, moving east towards Africa, here are the Cabo Verde Islands right there. See that? Now, the system they're watching is right in this area, right there. And you can see it's trying to start some rotation. But just want to mention there is rotation in this system right here, but it's getting involved in a lot of the Saharan dust layer already and kind of wiping out the moisture. But you probably heard me say this almost every hurricane season. You get a couple of these storms in a row. The front one is like a blocking back running through the line and knocking out a lot of that dust. In other words, it's absorbing it and creating an empty path behind it, so the storms behind it are not being absorbed into that dust, if that makes any sense at all. And we're starting to get into that time of the year where we have to watch these systems. Now, this is a perfect example. You see this one right here with good rotation, but it's diminishing very quickly because of the sand, or the dust, they call it. But what it's doing is clearing an area for this storm right there behind it and anything else coming in there. And that's kind of how our Father in heaven planned the whole deal. Thank goodness this summer's starting to kick up, and our temperatures are 20 degrees lower here as far as heat index. Now, let's take a look at the spaghetti model for Dexter. And I can't help but think of Marfugo's co-host when I see that name Dex. Anyway, it's at 40 miles per hour now. We saw that, but they're saying it is going to increase to 50 miles per hour as it moves into cooler water. It will become a low at that point instead of a tropical storm, but that's just how these things work sometimes, moving northeast at 12 miles per hour. Again, it's a train loaded with rain, wind, and now Canadian wildfire smoke for our friends in the UK. Now, we're going to take a look at a couple of the models. This is the Navy model, but I want to say something before we start on this. Guys, I had a live stream scheduled for last night, and you know I've had a few health problems. Things got kind of tough on me, and ended up having to go to the doctor this morning, got out just in time to put that live stream up just a little bit earlier. But I'd gotten tired, and a couple other things started happening to me, and I didn't even remember that I had scheduled a live stream. But my friend, and obviously someone else's friend, Roy Potter, got in touch with me early this morning and said that people were calling him, and thank whoever it was out there, because that's how it works. And they were asking him, they knew that Roy and I talked, to check on me because I didn't show up for the live stream. And guys, I had forgot it. I was asleep by then, I think, or close to it. But I stayed awake most of the rest of the night. Anyway, I apologize for that. I'll try not to let it happen again. One of those things. But everything's a lot better. They did some adjustments on my medicine. I think it's going to help me. But again, I apologize for that. Now, back to the video, NavGem, one of the most reliable models. And before I started, I pointed this out a few moments ago that this orange and yellow and these areas are the different pressure points. The redder or this purple is very high pressure. Then you get out into the orange and then the lighter orange and then even lighter orange. But when this is extended over the Atlantic and we have systems coming out right down here, here's Cabo Verde Islands, then they are trapped under this high pressure area and are forced to continue to run this yellow line unless there's a break in the pressure. Now what we're seeing, we'll play this through, is a combination of a couple other things. Let's watch it. First, there goes Dexter. Here's the one that's forming off the coast of Georgia, North Carolina. Check that out right here. Notice it doesn't quite come ashore. Now, we're going to look at a couple other models. And the system coming off of Africa, again, it's not moving up. It's trapped under this high pressure. Notice that cone was moving up in this area. It will not do that if the Navy is right about where the high pressure is. Now, the other most reliable model, our Canadian model, the CMC model, it and the Navy model are always far apart until getting very close to landfall. Then they give you a very accurate indicator of where landfall will be. Now, again, let's look at what's going on here. You got your high pressure set up. Starts right here. There goes Dexter, right there. Here's the storm off the coast. Now, notice that the high pressure is keeping it from moving up the east coast in this model. It's got a secondary storm forming here. And the high pressure, what's coming off of Africa, as everything starts to wind out, notice right here, that first little storm, the high pressure is still keeping it, even though it's pulled in right there, it's keeping it down much further towards the west, keeping it further south. And then the second storm that we were talking about, watch it come off, holds together a little better, a little stronger. And again, the high pressure is guiding it to the west. These models are going to change. We know it, but we're starting to get into that season to where we have to watch for these giants. Now, let's look at the loop on the GPS model, or the global GFS model, global forecast system. And it's one of the most accurate for the first 3 or 4 days, then it extends further out and becomes less accurate. But here's what we got going on. Here's Dexter, secondary storm forming off the coast of the Carolinas right there. Not much happening, kind of being pushed down. Here comes that first storm off of Africa. Look at that, guys. And the secondary storm here. But this is, again, the indicator that I've been seeing of this high pressure staying into place. It may change. We don't know. But it gets very interesting. Now we're August 13th right there. It's in the Bahamas, skates up into Florida, something else forming here, and look at this. I'm going to let it play through one more time. I'm going to stop it at the end. Again, this is GFS, but we're in the time of season where we have to watch everything. This storm formed here and is looping back around. I'm just going to step it forward or loop it forward slowly right there. And then we got something setting right here off the Mobile Bay. One more time. High pressure is dominant. That's the steering factor we have to watch. Here comes in the Bahamas, gets right in here through Tallahassee, Space Coast, maybe pushed back out. And this is a very large system right at the end of this run. So East Coast, with that intertropical convergence zone, moving north, 151 miles last year. No reports if it stopped. You're seeing more and more events moving further up the East Coast instead of the Mediterranean and the Gulf itself. Of course, we're going to get them everywhere, but that's what we're seeing exactly right now. Instead of running down and running across the Windward Leeward Islands here and moving in, and like we always watch it, we're starting to see that drift to the north. Anyway, guys, again, thank you for watching. It's a heads up. I'm going to be keeping an eye on a couple of other things, so watch for a video coming up or possibly a live stream. It's a heads up. Be safe.